All right. So, just to let you all know, my name is Martin Villarreal. I am from the Webb County Appraisal District here in South Texas, about 150 miles north of where my colleagues are from, Rolando and the other gentleman. And what I've done is I've done a real quick presentation just to kind of give you guys an idea what we got going on down here, and it's very similar to what we're seeing, what you all are seeing in the valley, at least when it comes to trends, and most important, single family resident homes. It blows my mind to see how values are raised are increasing out there as properties are sold or exchange hands. So what I wanted to kind of give you guys real quick is just an overall capture of what we did this year. And I highlighted single family residence and multifamily, which multifamily represents apartment complexes. And I highlighted it because I wanted to point out that for that one specific category, we saw our values go up by 12% this year, which I'm going to tell you, it was completely unexpected on my part because, as you all know, last year COVID kind of hit us early on, and I can tell you that Webb County got significantly impacted when it came to the pandemic. Nevertheless, you're not going to believe this. Our values increased by 12%. And I think one of the reasons that it increased is basically because of interest rates being low. We're starting to see more people qualified through Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae to buy or purchase a home. Not only that, supply and demand. There's so much demand for single family residents that there's not enough supply. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I read an article from the Texas Real Estate Center where they were saying in one of the reports as of December 31st that Laredo only had 241 active listings, where in the past it's been anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500. Now that totally amazed me when I saw the report, and when I started looking into building permits this year, we had a high count of homes that were built, 1,618 versus back in 2015 we had 1,097, which is a 600 new home increase between 15 and 2020. But here's the thing: we're here in a pandemic. You know, people have been secluded in their homes, and it just surprises me how this demand has driven prices up both on used and new homes, and yet our economy on the commercial side, it's still kind of trying to pick up, especially in the retail area and downtown. Like my colleagues that have adjoining cities that join Mexico. As you all know, people cannot come across like they did before, where they can come across regularly, and now they're prevented. Our downtown area has been really hit hard. We do have a lot of vacancies in the downtown area, and when I say a lot, I would say probably about 80 to 85% of downtown is completely vacant. We also have the certain sectors like the theaters, bowling alleys, things of that nature, where people go and go over the weekend to have a good time. Some of those business have either closed or they have scaled down, and their revenues have dropped anywhere from 60 to 70%. We also have our hotel industry, where they've lost a lot of revenue due to the fact that during the first 6 months, our hotels were either vacant or shut down. So on the commercial side, we expect a lot of protests, where I think Your agents will be coming in and filing protests on behalf of these owners and presenting their profit and loss statements. And as such, we will then be, utilizing the income approach to value to develop a value on these properties. And I kind of predict that it's going to be difficult on the value side when you're confronted with a situation where business owners, whether it's a retail, commercial type of business, are losing about 30 to 40% of their rental revenue because of their vacancy losses. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But on the flip side, when you look at residential and commercial, construction costs have gone up. One of the biggest, positive things that happened in 2020 was also the United States-Mexico agreement that was signed on July 1st, 2020. And as a result of that agreement being signed, we've seen an increase in logistic-related type services. We've seen a lot of mega warehouses being construction, and we've also seen a lot of development. So it's going to be interesting to see how the year kind of turns out, because we do have sectors that have been affected by the pandemic, but we also have sectors that have thrived as a result of the United States-Mexico agreement trade. Now, I do want to point out that oil and gas, this value here doesn't represent what we're expecting, and I'm going to go ahead and go over that in the next couple of slides. Just wanted to show you a overall percentage of market value by category. So most of our value here in Webb is really driven by single family residents. Oil and gas at one point did significantly had a positive impact overall, but recently because of prices and the decreases in oil and gas prices and production, this has dropped to a very low percentage-wise. And then this is kind of what I'm expecting for mineral value. So in 2019, we reached an all-time high. And I can tell you that the price for oil and gas and natural gas was at the high end. And then the following year, as you all might recall, prices came down as a result. It had a impact on the overall value for oil and gas royalties appraisals, and the value dropped significantly, almost by 50%. Then this year, I'm predicting that it's going to drop down to 30% now. You ask yourself why? Well, in 2021, the average price for a barrel of oil was $31.91 as compared to the previous year in 2019, which the value or the cost per barrel was $54.51, which represents a 43% decrease. And we had the same decrease for natural gas, where the price or the average price for natural gas was $1.22 per MCF in 21. Based on 2020 average prices. In 2020, the 2019 average price was $2.15. And once again, natural gas saw a drop in their price of 41%. So between those two decreases, cost benefit for operators to drill across the state basically came to its lowest point, and a lot of oil companies, as a result, shut down their operations, cut back on employment. A lot of businesses actually moved to the Permian Basin, and production here in Webb completely slowed down to where it impacted the overall values for 2020 and 2021. The good news is that some of this value will be made up from our appraisals that we completed for residential, multifamily, and commercial. And in fact, this year we're estimating that we're going to pick up new value of $337 million Once again, a lot of this is related to residential homes and commercial type of businesses that relate to uh, trade between Mexico and the U.S. And let me just point out, at any given day, there's approximately between 10 to 11,000 trucks going through our streets as a result of what's been going on with trade. And I don't know if any of you have traveled up Interstate 35, but I can tell you that if you do, you will see a tractor trailer at least spaced out a block from each other between here to San Antonio. And you're talking about 150 miles of highway where you have 18 wheelers traveling up and down back to back. It's amazing. And let me tell you, before this pact was signed, the United States Mexico agreement, before it was signed, when you would travel down 35, oh, you had a clear shot to San Antonio, and there was no 18 wheelers on site. Then thereafter, man, it just took off. The next slide kind of represents my estimated totals, very preliminary, but as you can see, we are going to see an increase in market value and a slight increase in taxable, but I've yet looked at the full impact of the oil and gas, so these are very preliminary. You will see that there's a gap between market and my taxable value, and there's basically what's in the middle represents exemptions or special evaluations. And the reason that we have this gap is that one of the categories that we reappraised this year was rural land, and rural land basically makes up a big percentage of our value here in Webb. We increase the market value for large ranches where we had them appraised, let's say at $1,000 an acre. We bought them up anywhere between 15 to 1,500 or 1,750. And as a result, because of their ag valuation, that value basically gets deducted, and only because you assess them at ag valuation versus market value. So I just wanted to point that out. I did the same analysis for my school district. So this is a United Independent School District, and I did it by category. Again, oil and gas, and this is what my estimates kind of will look like for this year. United's values will probably be somewhere in the same neighborhood as last year, and I believe that's a good thing, and only because they did see, in my estimates, a big drop in oil and gas. As you can see, in 2009, United had a value of 6.1 billion. In 2018, and then in 2019, and then 2020, it went down to 3.7. And now, between last year and this year, we're expecting about a 31% drop. And then LISD, which is my school district, that's pretty much landlocked. It sits right in the middle of town. LISD is a small school district, and they're landlocked, and they can't grow, and that's because they're surrounded by United Independent School District. This is the older community of town, and their value is pretty much going to remain the same. It is going to increase slightly, but again, I would caution any appraisal district that has a downtown that relies on people from across that come in and buy products here in the U.S. And like I mentioned, downtown is an LISD, and we're going to see as we go through our equalization protest phase the impact of what it might have on the overall value as we go through protests. I did mention that there is a significant number of vacancies downtown, and I'm hoping that my estimates of 2.5 will be close to where we're going to end up. But like I mentioned to you, most of my commercial retail downtown is appraised at using an income approach. And due to the loss of revenue on the business side, I could see where this might decrease a little bit more. And we'll see. I'll know by certification date to see what this impact is going to be. But I would caution my school members or my colleagues from LISD to just kind of keep that in mind. This is my third school district, my last. This is Webb Consolidated ISD. And Webb Consolidated CISD relied a lot on oil and gas in prior years, and you'll see this. You'll see that Webb CISD at one point had $2 billion worth of value, and that's kind of gone down because they're very dependent on oil and gas. So I just kind of wanted to show you what the values look like. I'm estimating that they're going to end up with 1.05. This big drop is because they do have several wind farm projects that we're still working on evaluating. And as you all know, when it comes to the M&O and INS, it's taxed different because of the value limitation that we value these farms when we figure their M&O, and we haven't gotten that information for this year. But overall, we're looking at about $1.5 billion.